Greetings, and welcome to Unveiling a Titan Part 5, where we'll be taking a look at some truly remarkable and exciting new discoveries about the mountain Montgo. After completing the fourth video in the series on the histology or tissues of the mountain, I didn't imagine that I'd have much more to share unless perhaps some new cave was discovered or some kind of forensic chemical tests were performed that would reveal more about the makeup of the mountain. I certainly didn't envision that there'd be any more startling discoveries, as I've been all over this mountain on so many occasions in the past years, and I thought I'd already seen what there was to see. But in the beginning of the summer, I took some friends deep into the eye to show them firsthand the material I had covered in the second video of this series. As we were getting ready to leave, one of them noticed a thick crystalline layer covering the entire backside of a prominent rocky feature in the center of the eye. I had puzzled before over the presence of these huge clumpy rocks that rise up in the shape of a cresting wave. It was clear that they had not fallen from above, as the upper portion of the cave was smooth and unbroken, and I'd wondered before if it weren't possible that these were the remains of the creature's eyeball. It was then, as we stood there pondering this crystalline structure, that we realized the magnitude of the elephant in the room. Indeed, it was staring us right in the face. And yes, that is in fact a double dad pun, so deal with it. As we stood there examining the crystal, the things I'm going to present to you today already seemed plausible, but I needed to return home for a better study of the anatomy to be sure. If you've seen my other videos, then you're already familiar with this growing list of very specific coincidences. The ones highlighted here in blue are the previous discoveries I made in the eye, which I cover in detail in the second video of this series. This won't be a review of part 2, so if you haven't already seen it, I highly recommend you watch that video first. Before getting into the new discoveries, however, I want to share a recently discovered and glaring example of blatant Google Earth censorship. Last month, in an interview with Rodrigo Ferrari Nunez, I attempted to give him a 3D Google Earth tour of some of the discoveries I had made about the mountain. Navigating the mountain in this way is something that I've done literally hundreds of times over the last couple years. But this time was different. As I zoomed in on the mountain, it became very clear that specific portions of the mountain had been edited to obscure the most important of the details I had shown in the first 4 videos. Fortunately, that footage is still available in my other videos, because otherwise it would have been impossible, without the use of an expensive drone, to get the footage necessary to reveal what I revealed. Had it not been for Google Earth's 3D viewing, I would likely have discovered only a fraction of what I did. The mountain has clearly been edited by someone at Google, and as I'll show you now, they did a very poor hatchet job. They say you get the most flack when you're over the target. While this channel is still very small, a number of larger channels have given shout-outs and made wonderful comments in the comments section of the videos. It appears that that was enough to attract unwanted attention. So let me show you now Google Earth getting caught red-handed in censorship. If you've been paying attention to the video that's been running for the last couple minutes, then you've already seen the footage that I've shown in the previous videos of the mountain. Now if we look at it from a distance here and we start to slowly zoom in, you can make out the eye already from this distance, but watch what happens as I move a little bit closer. See how it closes? And it stays closed even as I move in right up next to the mountain. Now this is really odd because there's a whole section here that's been blurred out. The ear, which I've pointed out in detail, is no longer red. The mountain doesn't look anything like this in real life. The eye has literally been closed up. And watch what happens as I get a little closer. Look at that. I zoom away. The only sections of the mountain that are blurry and have lost their detail are the sections that I have been exposing over the last 4 videos. If I get a little closer, it slowly goes away. Now the problem with this is the detail is there, but if you were to try and come in, and take a look at the mountain after having seen some of my videos, if you come out here, you might be thinking, yeah, it doesn't look like much of an elephant to me, right? And even if you got in a little closer, you have to get in right up next to it before this slowly disappears. And then you can start to get in and see the detail that I showed in the other videos. And here, now you can see the ear portion properly, but as soon as I back away, and not very far, boom, it closes up, as does the eye. Now that's very odd, especially considering other portions of the mountain don't do that. You can see that I have all the detail here, and as I back away, that detail is still there. I've gone around looking at other mountains in the area, and they all show the detail from a distance, and as I get in closer, by the way, I'm thinking this could also potentially be a fallen titan, and this mountain over here from certain angles looks a lot like an elephant as well. Come back to that another time. But anyway, so to me this is just blatant censorship on the part of Google. It's clear that somebody's gone in there and they've by hand literally edited these portions of the mountain, and if you get up close they slowly disappear, but if you're looking at it from even a little bit of a distance, it's not the mountain it used to be. So anyway, I'm sure that given the opportunity that somebody could come up with a clever explanation for why that's the case, that sounds plausible, but as a friend of mine likes to say, that's suspicious, don't you think? Anyway, it's important to me that this information gets out there, not just the Google censorship, but information about the mountain and about titans in general. So if you like the work that I've done, please feel free to share and mirror the videos. It'd be great if more people were aware of this and started looking for similar kinds of mountains in other parts of the world. All right, so let's get into the new discoveries here. So this is the area of the eye in question, this section here being the portion that I am theorizing is the remains of the eyeball of the creature. And if you go in on Google Earth, you won't see it because the detail isn't good enough. You'll see the fissures here of the different caves that are going downward for the optical fissures and whatnot, but you will not see the remains of this section that we'll be covering today, which is what you're seeing here. So I said I wasn't going to do a review, but I'm just going to cover a couple of little things. So this is an example of what I think is very biological. Lots of different kinds of flowing rock of different sorts that are all mixed together in what looks to be a very orderly fashion. And this is what I, in the second video, called the infraorbital foramen, which is something that all the vertebrates have. It's a passageway that is right here in the elephant. In humans, it's just below the eye. And another example of what I think is very biological tissue. This is an example of a suture, which is two different bones, one here, and where they meet. And this is what it would look like in the elephant. And you can see it does a similar jog there as this does here. And then this is just to show you how these different canals can be based on the different skull types. The skulls vary dramatically from elephant to elephant. This is an example of what may be the optic fissure, which is where the optic nerve goes. And on an elephant, it's here, and this is the exact same portion of the cave that we're looking at. So there are a tremendous number of similarities between elephant anatomy or just vertebrate anatomy and what you find in the cave when you go in there and start comparing things. I didn't notice this, but the last time I was up there I saw there's a number of areas where you get these deep holes that go in, and it looks a heck of a lot like blood vessels, and they're about the right size for the tissue. Here's another one. Again, here, this is that section of the mountain that's sticking upward, and this is what I think is a big blood vessel that was in the eye, and this is on top of that structure, and this is the back side of the structure, and now we're going to start to get into it. This is the crystalline layer that I'm talking about. This is about 10 inches thick, and it covers the whole back side of this rocky structure. And I'm going to show you video in just a moment that'll show you exactly where everything sits and how it all relates to each other. Just for fun, I went online and looked to see if I could find any examples of petrified eyes. And ironically, this came up. It's supposedly the petrified eye of a dinosaur, and you could buy it for $12,000 if you wanted to. But if you take a look at the look and the shape here, you can see that this would have been the inside portion of the eye that's just kind of oozed out. So when we are looking at the eye, what the eye is made up of is something known as the sclera. This is the fatty outer portion, the white portion of the eye. And inside is a gelatinous substance, and then you have your cornea and your lens and your iris are all here. So I believe that all of this is gone. And some of the pieces of what may be fossilized gelatinous substance may be below, and I'll show you those in a moment. So the eye has attachments. The muscle would have long since worn away. That would have been a softer tissue, but the eye itself and the optic nerve, being made of fat, would most likely petrify into a crystallized substance. So this is what it looks like, the eye, when it's removed from the body. So pay close attention to this, because this whole back area here, and you can see the kind of lumpy, fatty nature of it. And here it's thinner, but here there's a large, thick portion, and then it becomes the optic nerve. And then, so this section here is the sclera. That's translucent, so you're not seeing it because they're trying to illustrate the vascular portion, which is where the blood is. And you can see that there's lots of larger blood vessels, and then they branch off into microscopic blood vessels. And this is probably the most important picture of the whole presentation, because this is showing you what is the retina and the inner portion of the eye, the sclera, and then all of this meaty stuff back here is going to fossilize, just like I showed in the fourth video where I'm talking about plasma. If you look at blood, you've got the red blood, and then you have the plasma, which constitutes the major part of the blood. 90% water, but then the rest is made up of long-chain fatty acids. And you can see all of these have long-chain fatty acids in them, and so they're yellow. You get this yellowish color, and this is actual human serum albumin. So all the water has been removed, and it's crystalline in nature. And this is what it looks like under a microscope. And this is one of the rocks that are up on the plateau that I found. And you can see up close it has a very similar look to it. So I think this is petrified plasma. So this is important for what we're studying today, because the eye would do something similar. I think this is a mix of petrified plasma and blood. And here you can see it just stuck to the side of one of these rocks, which I call trabecular bone, that have all of these blood vessel-y channels. You can even see there's lots that looks like micro blood vessels. Then you have the larger ones, and then the reddish earth. And very often you'll find not just the reddish earth, but iron ore. So this is the breakdown of the different tissues of the eye. And the sclera would be the outermost layer, and then you have the choroid layer, which is where the blood vessels are, and then you have the rods and the cones, which are what allow us to see. So I believe that this fatty portion is what we're seeing here, and I'll show you video in a moment. And I just want to remind you that the blood vessels have a fractal quality. So if you have a big channel that's opening up and you're looking inside, then that's going to break off most likely into smaller and smaller branches. Okay, so if you've seen my other videos, you'll recognize this spot perhaps. This is this channel, about 40 degrees, 45 degrees going downward. And we're inside the eye of Montgo. And down that way is one of the two different entrances that go into the cavern that I show in the the end of the second video. But I just I'm here with a friend, I made a new discovery, and this section here that you're seeing, and you can see right along here, there's like a separation of tissue, and there's this big block, and it goes downward over here, and it continues down, and so you have this big area here, and then you have this blocking it, and then as I come up here, you can go around this structure, and then it opens up again down there, really big on the other side. So this structure really is kind of like in the center of the whole eye area. And if we look at this section here, it is kind of curved like a C shape. And I've shown this from the other side. But this whole area that you're seeing here could be the back of the eyeball, because it's all crystalline in nature, and I'll show you what I mean by that. If you look here, this is all quartz. There's a big layer of quartz. Could be like a myelin sheath. That's all quartz, quartz. That yellow over there, right? This has got a very organic feel, like it's grown. So there's this block that continues back that way, which I just showed as I came up. It continues here, and this is cut out, but you can see even here, that's all a big massive quartz layer. So this whole thing is covered with that. And this may be the back end of the eyeball that has remained. You know, the eye is mostly water, and the cornea would be the lens, and that would fall away, obviously, and you know, the majority of the eye isn't still here, but this would be a thicker tissue that anchors the eye into the back of the eye socket. And then from that come the blood vessels and the optic nerve, and I think that's exactly what you're seeing here, is that it's going back. And all of this in here, this is all this quartz material. It's beautiful, really. And then it continues, and it continues down, and it goes back into that very direction where the cavern is that we explored in the second video.
Join us on another exciting adventure of Exertus, where we join Michael from Stellium 7 inside the Tartarus.
Hello.
Pushing. Nobody's even pushing this.
This is the suture that I was talking about.
Yeah.
So if you think of the green and the red and the yellow,
So we're standing
that
somewhere.
line right there is exactly where it should be, and it's right there.
But that means we're standing like somewhere in the middle.
We're kind of like right where the orange meets the yellow is where we're standing.
Oh.
Yeah, don't really.
We're pretty hydrated.
I think it's right there. Well, it's a lot wetter than the last time I was here. We got a lot of rain not long ago. We had flooding about a month ago that was crazy. Cars were totally submerged. Down at the R&L, we haven't been yet. There's bugs in here that weren't last time I was here.
Are there bugs?
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of water. So there's bugs.
So you see here, right here,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna go through on your stomach there. Okay, because I mean, you could try going through butt first if you want. That might actually work. I'm going to try that this time. Last time I went through on my stomach. You get it.
I'm glad my mom and dad is unaware of this.
Yeah, even if they watch this video, they won't be able to see much. It's pretty dark. Oh yeah, I don't know if I want to do this.
It's almost like I'm done basically.
Alright.
Are you claustrophobic into this?
It opens up really big.
I'm like future phobic. I'm like afraid of the future.
Yeah. I don't think you have anything to worry about because we're already inside.
What is this?
It was you I was wearing. Yeah. And birds are chirping, and there's that suture that I talked about in the second video. And you can see here this back end, if this is indeed an eyeball, it's very interesting because not only does it have all this quartz everywhere, which you'd expect because of the fatty nature of the eyeball, but there's also all of these channels going into everything that have a very blood vessel-y feel and have that fractal quality to them that I've talked about so many times already in the videos. So this is what I was talking about here. There's this whole layer, crystalline layer, that is separate from another kind of tissue underneath. But that layer is like the outermost part of the eye. I don't have the anatomy in my head right now, so I can't really tell you exactly what it was, but this is this structure that I believe is the back portion of the eyeball as it goes deeper in. Yeah, so I just thought that was an interesting update. Take you up here for the view. So when I was here with Victor and Andreas, some other friends, we noticed this quartz, and we actually had this theory a little bit, but we never really went exploring and looked at the connections. But it definitely has a look like it's very organic, and it's going down that way into the deeper portion of the eye. So this might be the back of an eyeball that I'm standing on. And all down there, it's a totally different kind of rock. Very good. And Javier. See the birds dancing around in the air. So here's another angle on it. There's three different kinds of rock primarily that I'm identifying. There's this kind here, which is just kind of one solid thing. It doesn't really have a whole lot of blood vessels or anything, and there's a few bigger versions, or a few big versions of that kind of rock there. Then you have this kind of rock here, which has got a lot of vascularity in it. And then the back side of all of that whole section there, is where all that crystal is. So that would be the back outer layer of the back side of the eyeball. And based on the histology of that, I'm guessing, I need to go back and check my books, but I'm guessing that is going to match the crystalline structures that we're seeing there, and also that overall in the center of the picture there going down. You can see how it sweeps down here and here, and then it has that central portion that goes straight back and down, and that is all covered in quartz. I'm assuming it's quartz. It's a yellow-white crystal. Well, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please share these videos far and wide. The Google censorship is concerning. There's so few people that have any idea about this information. I've presented a lot of compelling evidence in the last 5 videos, and the vast majority of people think that Titans are nothing more than mythology. If you've been with me for all 5 videos, I'm guessing you might be thinking a little differently. So have a great day.